Basically, for this week's analysis, we're taking a look at the international tertiary student market. Now, once we're looking at it, basically, Malaysia is the 11th most desired study destination according to a UNESCO ranking, coming with more than 3 decades of experience in international education. We also have about 20 public universities, 434 private higher education institutions in Malaysia. Together, the combined student population is roughly about 1.107 million scholars, with 104,000 odd of these being international students. Now, moving along from there, the top 5 sending markets that we have for international students to Malaysia are China with 37.3%, Indonesia 9.8%, Bangladesh 6%, Pakistan 4.2%, as well as India 3.9% of total students. From there, what we have is also quite an interesting insight about Malaysia's education blueprint for higher education, which is spelling out an ambitious target for 250,000 international students by 2025. This sector is expected to generate a strong 15.6 billion ringgit via an estimated 200,000 international students alone, taking into account the international students' fees for public as well as private universities. For now, though, a more immediate target to receive 50,000 new international student applications in 2022 has been achieved. This amounts to a healthy 27.5% increase over the application volume for 2021, which was, of course, impacted by the pandemic's border closures and movement restrictions. Malaysia is now working to reach that long-term goal to more than double its current international student population to 250,000 students by 2025, or within the next 18 months alone. Joining me online now to discuss Malaysia's international tertiary student market is Novi Tajuddin, Chief Executive Officer of the Education Malaysia Global Services, or EMGS, which is under the purview of the Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia. Good morning, Novi. Thank you so much for being with us. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Tamina. It's a pleasure meeting you today, and of course, with all the audience.
Wonderful. So, Novi, get started off with telling me what are EMGS's recommendations for Malaysia to reach foreign enrollment base to 250,000 students by 2025, just a short 18 months from now.
Okay, I think based on the statistic that you shared, 250,000 based on the blueprint of the Ministry of Higher Education starting from 2015 to 2025. And we need to also take into consideration the effect of the pandemic about 2 to 3 years. So I am very ambitious about it. Together with the Ministry of Higher Education, we have a stretch goal of 250,000. But then at the same time today, the number of students of international that in Malaysia is about 131,000 up to 2021. So last year alone, the number of the visa approval letter that has been issued is approximately about 40,000 students that actually being approved to enter the country. So I believe the number remains the same. And what we need to do is we need to do a bit different. We have to do digital marketing, which is with the social media, and we have to have active promotional activities and as well getting help from the Malaysian alumni. And in line with what the Minister of Higher Education mentioned, to make Malaysia as a linchpin and also as an education hub. We have what we call these new marketing strategies, in which that one of the things that we need to do is to make things differently. So we have to do differently so that becomes the unique selling proposition, like why we have in the pipeline today. We want to make it as a center of excellence for the professional accountancy, banking and finance, in which that Malaysia has been training many professional accountants, bankers and also financiers, in which that we need to leverage on this, and I believe this is one of the ways to make Malaysia to achieve the numbers that we have in line. Yeah.
That's right. Thank you very much for sharing that, Novi. It's very encouraging to learn that. Now, of course, the top 5 sending markets for Malaysia include students from China. Now, looking at particularly China's dampened economic prospects, deflation, possibly leading to lower consumer spending, including for big-ticket items like international tertiary education. Novi, can we anticipate continued student volume? What's being done to keep Malaysia attractive to international students from China in particular?
Yes, that's a very good question, Tamina. So I think the top 5 countries, I think we have Malaysia, China is the number 1, and then we have Indonesia, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and also Nigeria. But then, as I mentioned earlier, the marketing strategies need to put in place. And differently, that what we do is we need to do more on the scholarship management, in which that we work with respective embassies and the government, and whenever we have a G2G between Malaysia and other countries, we emphasize by saying that they can also allocate certain amount of money for the sponsorship of their students to come to Malaysia. So I think it is rather proactive rather than reactive. We are actually taking a step ahead by talking to the other governments to say that come and allocate some amount for the students to come to Malaysia, rather than we are waiting and promoting. So I think this is one of the ways for us to increase the number of students to come to Malaysia. Yeah.
Yes, well understood. Now, expanding the conversation, Novi, affordable fees, quality education, and reasonable cost of living, of course, make Malaysia a top destination for foreign student enrollments. However, at the same time, with increasing costs of living, what are some immediate strategies for Malaysia to remain attractive? We're anticipating another maybe 5 to 20% increase in food prices alone by Q3, August, just 2 weeks away. Looking at these rising prices, what are your thoughts regarding, in particular, the anticipated 10,000 students from Indonesia, in line with the 10% increase in student enrollment from the country over the past few years? Yes, Novi? Were you able to hear the question? All right. Novi, I'm just going to repeat my question in case you were unable to hear me due to a technical difficulty. How about attracting more students from the Indonesian market? Because we are also anticipating, of course, a 5 to a 20%. Novi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Wonderful. All right, I'll just repeat myself. Novi, also looking at the Indonesian student market, where we are looking at the fact that in Malaysia, we're expecting cost of living increases between 5 to 20%, and the fact that, of course, the Indonesian currency compared to the Malaysian currency, are we still going to be able to attract about 10,000 projected Indonesian students to Malaysia for tertiary studies?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think Indonesia being the nearest, among the nearest country to Malaysia, we have been having a strategic discussion, even from the government to government and between Malaysia and the universities. I would say that even next week, we will have about 10 MOUs or MOA to be signed between Malaysian universities and the counterpart of universities in Indonesia. So this is also going to offer some scholarship that going to offer to the Indonesian students to come to Malaysia. We still believe, because from my recent visit to Jakarta and also to Padang, I observed that there are needs for the Indonesian students to come on board to Malaysia, and they look forward to learn and gain more knowledge and expertise from our country. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing that, Novi. Now, also, one final question before we leave. Several Malaysian universities have also improved rankings in the 2022-23 edition of the Global 2000 list by Center for World University Rankings. What are EMGS's recommendations for perhaps improving this competitive edge and also attracting, as of course our Minister of Education has said, more high-quality students rather than just numbers alone?
Yeah. From EMGS point of view, obviously, yes, we agree that what being highlighted by the Minister of the Ministry of Higher Education, we want quality students to come to Malaysia. And at the same time, the ranking that we have, we don't need to depend on it too much, because I can see that some countries like Korea, they actually do not want to depend on the ranking of the universities in the world. But then at the same time, we have to make sure that we use it as a guidance, because number of students worldwide actually looking, whether you like it or not, they still look at the ranking of the universities. But then I'm looking from the perspective that it is good for our universities to actually beef up and increase the quality, because to attract more international students to come to Malaysia. So this is one of the ways to make it more competitive advantage for the universities in Malaysia. That's my view. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Novi. That was Novi Tajuddin, CEO of Education Malaysia Global Services, EMGS, joining us on here on Niaga Spotlight.